Good evening. This is Maestro Cortello with a Company of Heroes 2 cast. Today we have a 2v2 on Hurtgen Forest. Our first player is Adila, a very good Dawn of War 2 player playing some Company of Heroes. His teammate is Gote, also a very good Dawn of War 2 player. They are playing as the US forces. Then on the other side, we've got a pair of Ober Kommando West players. We've got, let's see right here, we've got Powerpeter and Bobdaboss. So we've got a Company of Heroes 2 cast, first time in a while. Probably not going to make it a regular thing, but I just felt like doing it again. I've had a little bit of renewed interest in Company of Heroes 2 because the expansion was released that released these two new factions, the US forces, as well as the Ober Kommando West. Now, I'm actually not really an expert on Company of Heroes 2, especially not the new factions. I've been playing Company of Heroes 2 again a little bit, but not as much as when it first came out. So I'm really not an expert on the new factions or Company of Heroes 2 in general, but kind of my angle is a little bit of the comparisons between Dawn of War 2 and Company of Heroes 2, and since I have mostly a Dawn of War 2 audience, I'm kind of translating it into Dawn of War 2 language. A lot of things are very similar. It's a relic real-time strategy game. You have the retreat function. We have a lot of cover all over the map. So a lot of the way you manage range fights are very similar. Here we've got the Stern Pioneers trying to close in for some close-range combat against the rear echelon troops, since they would probably have an advantage over them. But the rear echelon troops used an ability here called Volley Fire that's like a suppression ability. So it's basically like aiming what's that from Dawn of War 2 for the shooter boys. And that actually gave the rear echelon troops a bit of an advantage, especially since they had the riflemen supporting them here from Adila. So riflemen are really the backbone of the U.S. forces' early game infantry, or just really the backbone of their infantry. The rear echelon troops are a starting unit. They are the repair unit and building unit. I'm not sure how much they can actually build, but they definitely are a repair unit. So we've got a lot of units in cover right now, and again, just the way they're keeping their units in cover and holding cover is very similar to how you would do it in Dawn of War 2. There are no melee units in this game, so you definitely hold in your cover a lot more. Sometimes you actually will close in for closer range, as the Stern Pioneers are frequently doing, since there's a lot more difference in accuracy and damage at different ranges. Kind of like the way shotgun scouts in Dawn of War 2, they do more damage the closer you get. There's a lot of like that in Company of Heroes 2, as well as the original Company of Heroes, where units do more damage or shoot more accurately the closer they are, or in some cases I think even the farther away they are. But there are just differences in damage and accuracy, or maybe it's just accuracy, depending on the range you're at. So units with regular rifles, such as these Volksgrenadiers and the riflemen, they probably want to stay farther away, whereas units with the automatics, such as those Stern Pioneers, want to get closer. So a lot of range fights. Teching is a little bit different in, well, it's different in Company of Heroes 2 in general, and it actually varies by faction the way you tech. The way we tech linearly in Dawn of War 2 exists in Company of Heroes for one faction, for the Austere. Right now we don't have the Austere. We've got the Ober Kommando West and the US forces. US forces are pretty interesting in that they unlock their tech by purchasing hero squads. So hero squads, unique hero squads that you can only get one of. And then when you purchase that squad, you actually get access to more tech. The Ober Kommando West, they get half-track buildings, or they get half-tracks which then can turn into like field buildings that we see right here. Here's one, we've got a battle group headquarters for Powerpeter, another battle group headquarters for Bobdaboss. And then you can choose what those half-tracks will come out automatically at specific times or just on a timer, and then you can choose what tech building you want to make them into. And you actually can choose, we have the battle group headquarters, but there's actually another, you can actually pick a different tech building first. So you actually have a little bit more flexibility in Company of Heroes 2 as far as your tech. Sometimes still, there's still people generally still refer to the tiers by number: Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, and then there's a Tier 4. And although you have a bit more flexibility, usually it does, it still does take a bit more time and usually a bit more resources to go to Tier 3 than to Tier 2. But in Dawn of War 2, you can't skip Tier 2. You go to Tier 2, and then you have to go to Tier 2 first. And then, if you want, you can buy no units in Tier 2, but you have to go to Tier 2 first. The only faction that's like that in this game is the Austere.
Area's ours.
So anyway, riflemen taking the middle, and if we notice right there, this is actually, we're actually 5 minutes into the game, almost 6. It was almost 6 minutes in the game before either side even took the contested VP, and we see that more in Company of Heroes games than in Dawn of War 2, because like if they wait, like you wouldn't have players waiting that long in Dawn of War to get the contested victory point. They would get the contested victory point early on, because if they had a double cap, then 5 minutes later, they would have a lead of like 100 to like 150 VPs. But the victory point counter also counts down a lot slower in this game. Anyway, we saw that the red team definitely took a foothold in the west. Now it's the blue team taking basically the middle as well as the east. Gote kind of took the east in part because the red team doubled this side. They doubled this side so that they could get it, but then they pretty much left the east side open for Gote to just capture it, pretty much uncontested. Now here is something very interesting. This is the half-track with an infrared searchlight. This unit, I'm pretty sure it has no weapons whatsoever, and it exists purely to reveal Fog of War. So it's a very interesting unit design. It just reveals Fog of War. Anyway, we've got some riflemen here that are vetting up by killing the crew for an infantry support gun. So some interesting things there. Veterancy is a lot like leveling in Dawn of War 2, but it's a bit different. There are, instead of just broad statistical increases at when you get veterancy, there are specific rewards for each veterancy. Such as Vet 1 for the riflemen, giving them an anti-tank grenade. Vet 2 giving them increased squad survivability and weapon control while under fire. Whatever that means. That's actually very vague. But there are just specific upgrades when units get veterancy, as opposed to the broad statistical increases that you get in Dawn of War 2, where they just have a little bit of an increase in everything. More health, more energy, more damage. At every single level. Anyway, here is one of those unique hero squads, and this one is the captain. So that actually means that Adila skipped some tech, because the first hero squad for the U.S. forces is the lieutenant. And right now, well, they're kind of behind all these trees. Let's see if we can take a closer look at the captain. Well, that captain is getting murdered right there. Actually has some, those are either bazookas or recoilless rifles. I'm not enough of an expert right there. Probably bazookas. So, Captain comes with 2 bazookas by default. Yeah, I'm going to say they're bazookas. Let's see if I switch over to Gote's view. Does he have... Yeah, so Gote has the lieutenant, and he's a little harder to get a look at, but especially because there are a bunch of other squads right here. But he comes with a Browning automatic rifle by default, and we've also got these buildings right here for the U.S. forces, which shows weapons that squads can get. We've got the bazooka, we've got the Browning automatic rifle. Lieutenant comes with the BAR by default. Captain comes with the bazooka by default. Then the M19 light machine gun is actually the 30 cal, and squads can get that. And what's interesting is that the actual suppression team for the U.S. forces, they get the Mod Deuce 50 cal heavy machine gun, or even 50 cal. That's an anti-material weapon. And I'm actually kind of surprised to see them use that as their suppression team, when I think the 30 cal makes a little more sense in their role. Anyway, well, we just had a squad totally wiped, and I was talking about other things. That looks like a Stern Pioneer squad that got wiped. And I think by the Greyhound. So this Greyhound is an armored car, a light vehicle. So I believe that does mean it will take damage from things like even this machine gun team, probably even from regular rifle and assault rifle fire. Meanwhile, though, we've got some Volksgrenadiers right here that do have a Panzerschreck upgrade, and that will do quite a bit more substantial damage to the Greyhound. Greyhound is an armored car, it has a 37mm main gun, and I remember in the original Company of Heroes, that main gun would do some very light anti-tank damage, and it did give the Greyhound a bit of an advantage, I think, over the other light vehicles, because it could damage them right out of the gate. Anyway, one thing you notice is that I switch between players, and I have to switch between players to actually view what kind of tech they have, which is a bit of an inconvenience. The replay interface in Company of Heroes 2 does not allow you to view all of the units for every player in the game. Now, that kind of replay interface, the replay interface for Dawn of War 2 is obviously very efficient in that respect, but I don't even know if if you could really make an interface for Company of Heroes 2 that could fit, like, the sheer amount of units that you can sometimes get. And sometimes you definitely will get higher unit counts in this game than in Dawn of War 2. Anyway, right here, this is a very interesting unit. This is the M15A1 half-track for the U.S. forces. It has a 37mm cannon on the back. And this thing is really awkward because you often want this truck facing back, because it has a firing arc. And so you actually want it to face backwards in order for it to actually fire. It's kind of awkward, but it also seems to be pretty effective. Anyway, we've got a bunch of Gote squads which have all upgraded to have grounding automatic rifles. They're kind of going right into a meat grinder. A red team has now really holed up in the middle after the blue team took an early lead, or at least, like, took an early lead in, I guess, map control, or at least they had the double cap. But red team now has the double cap, and they're pretty well holed up in the middle. We've got the machine gun, which is going to suppress any squads on approach, and my personal opinion is that suppression is stronger in Company of Heroes games than it is in Dawn of War 2, since you don't have any things like jump units, or, well, mainly you don't have any jump units, so you can't really aggressively charge down a suppression team the way you could in Dawn of War. No jump units because there were no jet packs or teleporter packs in World War II. So you really either need to, like, wear them down with artillery, snipe them with snipers. However, I don't think either of these factions actually have snipers. Or, well, yeah. I guess alternately you could also flank, although I think that's also going to be a little bit harder in a 2v2 game compared to a 1v1. Definitely in a 1v1 game of Company of Heroes, flanking is definitely very important because of the fact that you don't have jump units to deal with machine gun teams. Oh, and of course, obviously, a vehicle is going to, or at least a heavier vehicle is going to win out over a machine gun team. But that's why we've also got an anti-tank rocket launcher right here to kind of cover that. Anyway, right here is that 50 cal machine gun suppressing a bunch of Ober Soldaten. So wow, already we've got some Ober Soldaten out of Bobdaboss, and it looks like he might even lose one of his Volksgrenadiers. Ober Soldaten are the most powerful infantry squad. I think they're the most powerful infantry squad you can get out of for the Ober Kommando West. And right now we also have one that's equipped with, well, it's hard to tell because they're all suppressed and pinned. But I think this Ober Soldaten also has a Sturmgewehr 44 equipped with an infrared scope. Normally, though, by default, I think the Ober Soldaten get an MG34 by default, maybe even MG42. But yeah, there's that scoped Gewehr 44. And I know it's either technically a Sturmgewehr 44 or an MP44. Anyway, we've got Adila now moving in back on the, what is this? The west side, messing my directions. Alright, he's going to try to get the Greyhound around the firing arc of this anti-tank rocket launcher, because the anti-tank, oh, he used the canister shot, which did some pretty significant damage to the anti-tank rocket launcher. Now he's around the firing arc, but he's actually getting hit by the cannon on this tech building. So this is a tech building for the Ober Kommando West. This is actually a tech building. This tech building, the Schwer Panzer headquarters, which is the final tech building for them, Tier 4, it actually comes with, like, I think that's like a flak gun on top. And that flak gun apparently does some light anti-tank damage. Certainly at least good enough to take out that, that Greyhound. Here we've got the other one, which is also opening fire a bit. Also opening fire a bit on the infantry right here and doing some pretty significant damage to them as well. So this is pretty serious. We've got a tech building with a big-ass cannon on top that's really doing work. I think... Oh my god, that was like 3 rifleman squads that...
Ready for action.
I feel like Gote just lost like 3 rifleman squads. Yeah, he has no rifleman squads anymore. And since the Ober Kommando West, their buildings come out as half-tracks, and then you can actually drive them to a spot where you want to deploy them. And since this thing has a freaking cannon on it, these players are moving their Schwerpanzer headquarters to really like a forward position. We've actually got one right next to a victory point. This one isn't right next to the victory point, but it's not too far behind. So, and it's really actually set up in a position where it's both of these buildings have so far, they're kind of like they've actually covered like the front line of cannons. And I mean, right now I'm saying cannons generically. I know specifically we're talking about anti-tank rocket launchers. We've also got the infantry support gun, which is kind of like an awkward artillery unit, a mortar stand-in for the Ober Kommando West, who do not have a mortar unit, and I meant a mortar stand-in. Anyway, we've got some more of Adila stuff, really just charging forward, but they're getting suppressed by the MG-34. We've got some suppression. Actually appeared to get hit by something, but I'm not even sure what. A lot of these things are, again, they're just getting suppressed. And here's that flak gun from the Schwerpanzer headquarters. Really, oh, and here, this is a, so we do have an artillery call in on top of that anti-tank rocket launcher. It does kind of get scared off, so it doesn't really take much damage. But I think that came out of the Major right here. That's the final unique hero unit that unlocks tech for the U.S. forces. And I think out of the unique hero units, the captain, the lieutenant, and the major, I think the major is probably the worst at actual combat. He just seems to have, well, he's got a carbine, or a carbine, which I can't believe it's called. He lost his squad member, so I don't know what weapons they have. But he can call in artillery. And here we've got an M36 Jackson tank destroyer. Now, this is a tank destroyer. It only has a cannon. It does not have any machine gun, so it's really not going to be that great at dealing with infantry. It's mostly an anti-tank tank. Probably not also as durable as the real main tanks, like the Sherman or the Panther or the Panzer IV, but it's probably gonna do some pretty good damage with its gun. And I think another thing is that it's probably gonna have good penetration. Now, penetration is something that doesn't really exist in Dawn of War 2. Anti-tank weapons actually just hit consistently in Dawn of War 2. Whereas in this game, every time an anti-tank weapons shoot, it needs to penetrate the armor of a tank. And that's actually determined somewhat randomly. It's actually determined by values, and there's actually like kind of almost like a dice roll that goes into whether or not a tank shot will actually do damage to any kind of armored vehicle. So it's an element of randomness that does not exist in Dawn of War 2. But in some ways it makes sense. It kind of simulates the effect of armor penetration in real life. The fact that sometimes a tank shell can hit and can actually deflect off of a vehicle, especially if it's at like a sideways angle or you've got a vehicle that has sloped armor. The tank shells can actually deflect off and actually not penetrate the armor of the tank. Another thing it also simulates is like kind of different levels of both of armor, like thickness of armor, as well as like the size of cannons. So like much smaller guns, like the 37mm gun on like that Greyhound, is probably not going to pierce the armor of a very big tank. Whereas this thing right here has a much bigger cannon, the 9mm M3 cannon, as opposed to the 37mm of that Greyhound. Anyway, we've got some kind of aerial call-in from Adila. I don't really know what it's doing. We've got, what do we got right here? It looks like artillery strikes, probably just more shots from the infantry support gun shooting things. And here we go with, I mean, right now all of this infrared half-track is actually probably revealing everything right here. Like, I think we see like all of this stuff going, we do see infantry support gun shots going in, and they're probably going in based on getting sight from this infrared half-track. So we see these infantry support guns. They've got massive range, and they're really taking shots from really, really long range. Meanwhile, over here, I feel like this... They're getting... So the red team is really just holding up in the middle. And, oh, but check this. We've got a Panther. Now, the Ober Kommando West armor really seems to go, like, very quickly from inexpensive light tanks to the Panther, which is quite a resource investment to get out on the field. And it's not the heaviest German tank, but it's on the heavier side. It's a heavier tank, not the heaviest, but heavier. Even though it's technically considered a medium tank. This one already taken some damage, and you know what? It just took a big shot, and because it's actually getting shot by this tank destroyer, the Jackson. Look at how the long range that Jackson has. Jackson is still taking shots. That is the Jackson. So this thing looks like it's far away, but that Jackson just took another shot and finished it off. So that Jackson's got some pretty long range. I'm pretty sure it's outranging the anti-tank rocket launchers that would deter it. Yeah, it's not even in range of the anti-tank rocket launchers.
The enemy is overrunning one of our capture points.
So anyway, right here we've got another Jackson. And I feel like the Mod Deuces here, the 50 cals, have really been holding up the red team on this side. Their attempts to take the eastern side have been, well, a little one-dimensional. They've just been charging their infantry forces into some tanks, or rather, not into some tanks, into some machine guns. That being said, Gote just lost his machine guns. Gote's unit preservation has really not been that great. Meanwhile, he's also got his he's got paratroopers now to like kind of replace his riflemen. And his paratroopers are equipped with 30 cals. I don't know if that 30 cal can actually suppress, though. Alright, it looks like we've got some artillery call in for the Ober Kommando West. I don't know which player is actually calling that in. But Gote's going to have to start moving his stuff. He's moving out the paratroopers, so he's preventing them from getting hit. He's also having them healed up by the ambulance. So some artillery shells are going in. Looks like he's mostly dodged it with his paratroopers. Oh, but he actually lost the Jackson, so I think he kind of relaxed a little too much. Oh, and you know, we actually see, I feel like we can see the kind of the radius of, yeah, it might be hard to see, but they actually are kind of showing the radius. Oh, and it actually takes out the ambulance too. I was actually just going to point out that the ambulance was just slightly in the radius of that artillery strike. That has to be something like a sector artillery strike, because that was a lot of artillery in one area, and it was actually showing the area where that artillery strike was happening. Let's see who's got like some kind of sector artillery. Powerpeter, yeah, he's got the zeroing artillery. Automatically attacks visible enemy units in the target area. Artillery rate of fire ramps up the longer the target is visible. So wow. So kind of what was happening there was Gote got some of his units out of the area, but some he didn't quite get out of there. So it just kept on shooting more and more artillery right there. And I bet he could see all the stuff that was there because of this infrared searchlight. Now I haven't been switching back and forth too much between like all of the different players. It's a bit of a hassle, and it's one of the reasons why it's much harder to cast team games in Company of Heroes 2 than in Dawn of War 2. And the casting community for Company of Heroes 2 is definitely very, very 1v1 centric. Like, they really cast 1v1s like almost maybe not almost exclusively, but well, maybe they do. I would say probably at least 80% of casts are 1v1, if not at least 90% of casts. Another thing that like we're seeing here that's a bit different from different in Company of Heroes 2 than in Dawn of War 2 is that we don't really see as much of the ebb and flow. The red team has really held up here for so long without really being pushed off. Some artillery is going to start going in, so that might start pushing off some of these units. Doesn't appear to be quite as impressive as that German artillery. But yeah, we're just not seeing as much of the ebb and flow, like as much of the back and forth. We're seeing a lot of the red team grabbing onto these VPs and then just holding. And then it's really, the blue team is fighting very, very hard just to try to dislodge them. Ooh, so those Mod Deuces we saw before have now actually been stolen by Bobdaboss. So now he's got his 50 cal. And it's suppressing some riflemen on approach. One rifleman squad goes down, took a shot from an infantry support gun, and then the Mod Deuce finished it off. Anyway, now we've got this is Adila charging forward with his paratroopers. His paratroopers just have Tommy guns. That's the little icon that we see. They have the Thompson submachine gun. He does not have So that means he does not have the 30 cal the way Gote's paratroopers do. Gote's paratroopers, one of them definitely needs to get some reinforcements. Anyway, we've got a Jackson, I feel like, going around very, very forward. I don't know what he's doing right here. Now, he could try to go for some base or turret destruction. I don't know how worth it that is. Anyway, whoa, that was actually a pretty strong shot on this turret. So he's actually now destroying turrets. So wow, actually 2 shots to take out the base turret. So base turret's a bit easier to destroy in this game, and base destruction in general actually a bit more viable, but still definitely risky. And I don't know if this is something that's going to pay off, because we do have now definitely an overextended tank destroyer. I'm not sure how expensive the Jackson is. Maybe if we take a look. The Jackson costs some considerable resources. 125 fuel. That's pretty expensive on fuel. The manpower costs, I feel like, not that expensive. And I haven't talked that much about the resources in this game. We've got manpower, which is pretty much like your requisition in Dawn of War 2. We've got fuel, which is pretty much like your power. You use it for teching and you use it to get vehicles, although one of the differences, pretty much all infantry squads, I think every infantry squad, only costs manpower to field, so no fuel. So that would be like if Dawn of War 2, if all of the infantry squads just cost requisition and no power. And then we do have population, which is population in Dawn of War 2. Same thing. Functions pretty much exactly the same. And then we've got munitions, and these are a bit like red. So you definitely use them for global abilities, global artillery strikes, although they are also actually used for unit abilities. So like the grenades on squads, as well as the anti-tank grenades, everything else is used by munitions. So think of munitions very much as red as it would be for the orcs. Anyway, why am I talking about resources? We've got a King Tiger. This might as well be like a Baneblade. Now, the King Tiger is a massive tank. Maybe not as big as a Baneblade, but certainly bigger than these Jacksons, although I think the Jacksons actually did some work with their long-ass range cannons.
A capture point is being overrun.
But we've got the King Tiger. It has an 88mm gun, and this is a big-ass tank. Although, that being said, 88mm gun, Jacksons have the 90mm gun. So, if anything, I don't know if the damage value is actually better on the Jacksons, but it just kind of shows you that these Jacksons really are like designed for taking out tanks. Like, they're not big, but they got, yeah. Anyway, here we've got a howitzer motor carriage. I have not seen this unit. It looks like it's going a little too far forward. But Adila and Gote, like, they got to make something happen because they're pretty far behind. Wow, it actually shot something. He's specifically targeting this half track, I think, because I feel like he shot something that went and hit this half track. The half track now has, what does it have? It has a searchlight destroyed, so it can't even use its searchlight. I didn't even know that was a status effect that could exist. It lost its searchlight and it's gone. Very, very nice play by Adila to specifically target that searchlight. And I think what was smart about that, and what was not well played by, I think that was Bobdaboss there, or just the Ober Kommando West in general, was they kept that searchlight very, very static. I don't think it ever moved since it got to that spot, and it's a pretty good hiding spot, pretty well covered by this massive trees, but it was still kept in one spot. So Adila knew where it was. He knew where to target it. I don't know if he even had sight on that. I suppose I could have checked. Anyway, here's that hero captain unit. Actually comes equipped with some bazookas by default. I think also comes equipped with some Tommy guns. Some Tommy guns and some rifles. So quite a nice mix of weapons. So it's going to definitely be doing both some anti-infantry as well as some anti-tank, especially since it comes standard with 2 bazookas. And I think the rifles will die first, then the bazookas, and then probably... No, it's actually... The bazookas will die last. I thought maybe like the Tommy gun model was the captain himself. But apparently not. Anyway, a rear echelon troop, way overextended, has 2 stars of veterancy. That's another thing that's a bit different in Company of Heroes than in Dawn of War 2. There is veterancy, which is very much like leveling in Dawn of War 2. But in Dawn of War 2, obviously, we just have very straight, broad statistical increases. You just get an increase in damage, increase in health, increase in energy, etc. In Company of Heroes 2, there are very specific upgrades at each mark of veterancy, and now I can't check because, or at least I can't check it on that squad because it's in retreat. And one of the things I don't like about Company of Heroes is that you cannot select a squad that's in retreat. But anyway, if we check the captain right here for Adila, It says, Vet 1 actually unlocks an ability. No statistical increases whatsoever, but it unlocks an ability. Vet 2, it says, vaguely says, increases squad survivability and weapon control. And then Vet 3, well, a lot of things. But specific increases at roughly at each level. Anyway, well, blue team now holding up here. We've got, it looks like, how many Jacksons are there? Are 3 Jacksons, so these are the tank destroyers. And then 1 Sherman. The Sherman is a medium tank, and I think like oh my god, here is some artillery. Took out some kind of unit, and the King Tiger is now running away. They're making a push for the King Tiger. That is definitely what they are doing with this many Jacksons, and I think it's even worth it to lose a few Jacksons. Lose a Jackson, or even 2, to take out a King Tiger. This King Tiger is done. Especially, where's the 3rd Jackson? The 3rd Jackson is right here. They might even take out the King Tiger without losing 1 Jackson. It depends. Oh yes, they actually do not lose a single Jackson, although 1 is definitely very fragile. So alright, it's done. Alright, so they did lose 1 Jackson, but trading a Jackson for a King Tiger is definitely going to be worth it. Meanwhile, this motor carriage, what is it doing? The howitzer motor carriage shooting right here. They're now flanking all of this entrenched stuff. And well, they're losing some stuff in the process. I think both of these motor carriages are going to go down. Now being targeted by a Vet 5 Volksgrenadier squad. Yeah, both of the howitzer motor carriages go down. This howitz, or the Jackson. Oh, we've got the Sherman actually doing some base destruction. And Sherman is actually right now relatively uncontested. This squad of Volksgrenadiers is idling. Meanwhile, and here we've got some artillery going in. And oh no, we've got a bunch of stuff. So this is Gote stuff. Retreating through everything here. I wonder how many if any squads will get lost right here. One of the paratroopers down to 1 model. Close call, really retreating through a whole lot of stuff, although a lot of the stuff is also not really shooting at it. Now, Adila is actually really, really low on units. He lost a lot of stuff in that. Units definitely, I would say units die more in this game. Wow, this Sherman has been really annoying by Gote. And there are no base turrets right here, although I guess the base turret really wouldn't stop a Sherman. He might even go for destroying these command headquarters. And yeah, I mean, they're probably going to want to start moving something back here. Because otherwise he will destroy the command headquarters. So we've got an anti-tank rocket launcher coming out for Bobdaboss. Meanwhile, we've got the Jackson from Adila. I'm going to take a quick look at like how many units all the players have. I feel like Gote probably doesn't have that much either. He's actually got more than Adila. Bobdaboss doesn't have that much, and Powerpeter's got the big army. Anyway, this Sherman actually, well, it did kind of well. And here's a new Panther from Powerpeter. Ooh, this, let me actually take a look over at Gote's for a second. That's Gote's. And he does have a 50 cal machine gun on top. I'm trying to look at what is this ability that's giving him that targeter thing on top. Anyway, oh no! The Panther makes an aggressive push, you know, at a very, very good time. I don't think the Jackson, yeah. Before I can even say, I don't think the Jackson's gonna survive. It gets taken out. Panther with a 75mm gun. I don't know if it's on par with the Jackson for its anti-tank capabilities, but the Panther is probably more durable than the Jackson. Although, man, it just took a monster shot from the Jackson right here. So this Panther actually now needs to be very careful, because we noticed that the Jackson also has monster range. So Jackson definitely appears to be very, very powerful as an anti-tank unit. I mean, that's all it does. If that's all it's going to do, it better be good as anti-tank. And it's not exactly cheap either. I mean, we check the resources. Certainly not cheap on fuel. It's actually more expensive than the Sherman. And the howitzer motor. Okay, the motor.
Just reported Pathfinders ready for action.
Ooh, Pathfinders. Hello. I and our Pathfinders are scout infantry coming in. So this is a very interesting unit. I have played this new expansion, but I have not tried this unit in particular. So I don't know a whole lot about what they do, but they actually look a lot like the Major. They can call down an artillery strike. They're equipped with They're equipped with carbines, so they're probably not the best, like, actual fighting unit. But they can call down artillery. They've got a few other abilities. Anyway, it's all happening right here. And it sounds like they're building a lot of tank destroyers. I feel like it sounds like they're building a lot of tank destroyers, and they have built a lot of tank destroyers. Unfortunately for Adila and Gote, it's now a triple cap against them, and this game has obviously gone on for a very long time. If this were a triple cap, obviously, if this were a triple cap in Dawn of War 2, this would probably be... Adila and Gote would probably not be able to win the game. As it is, we're really only about halfway through the game, so clearly they're not out of it yet. Anyway, we've got a fighting position. A fighting position. It's called fighting position.
Friendly's down to 100 points.
And these are, yeah, this is Adila's stuff, although it's Gote who built the fighting position, so Gote probably has, oh, I have no idea. Anyway, Panther does not have much health left, but we know that those long-range Jacksons can probably take it out. Meanwhile, the searchlight appears to be off on the half-track. I think it probably turns off when it moves. Meanwhile, it actually looks like the blue team right now is actually about to get the double cap, the U.S. forces. But here comes some of that artillery again, the zeroing artillery. And yeah, they're going to want to really get out of there. Now, this is interesting. Where are they retreating to? Are they retreating to this fighting position? Or are they actually going to retreat back to base? Because that looked like an interesting retreat path. I was wondering if there's... They're actually retreating right here. So the Major can actually act as a retreat point. That is very, very interesting, and it's also definitely something that's potentially very powerful.
Send orders.
And it appears you can actually reinforce off of ambulance. So the combination of the Major and the ambulance should really be able to act like as a forward base. Anyway, U.S. forces are now actually with a double cap. New Sherman tank, this one for Adila. You know, we've got the double Jacksons. Wait, no, double Jacksons for Adila. The Sherman tank belongs to Gote, because I'm looking at Gote right now. Sherman being very, very brazen. We've got this huge line of cannons. Well, not cannons. We've got the anti-tank rocket launchers. We've got some infantry support guns, which they have an anti-tank ability, although I think they're generally not anti-tank. There is a squad of Volksgrenadiers right in front here with a Panzerschreck. And he's just kind of staying right in here. I think he's going to want to deal some more damage to these Volksgrenadiers so that they will not, so that they won't be able to, like, have much. Ooh, and this is now, yeah, this searchlight is definitely done. Just blown apart. And, like, these Jacksons are definitely going to be overkill for taking out something like that light vehicle. And here we've got definitely some American voice acting. We're getting the hell beat out of us. Anyway, U.S. forces again now actually with a double cap against them, so they're in trouble. They need to get the cap. Now, it doesn't look like there's a machine gun team in here, which actually means that they can charge in. And there is so much cratering going on right here that there's now a lot of cover by this victory point. Pretty much all of the victory point is now yellow cover. And I mean, I'm sure they're going to be using some cover down here too, but it also looks like some grenades are going in from both sides. We've got anti-tank rocket launchers, as well as an artillery. This must be some U.S. artillery going in, and that's going to... Oh, that artillery hit... Oh, that artillery hit really, really nicely. Whose artillery was that? It's actually really, really hard to tell whose artillery it is in this game. But, we do know that we've got... Adila's going to have Pathfinders. And, you know, the Pathfinders were right here, so that was probably their artillery. And it's on cooldown. So, yeah, that was some powerful artillery. And I'm guessing their artillery probably more powerful than the Major's artillery. Yeah, I mean, it says 155 millimeters. Costs 140 munitions. And I feel like I think when I looked at the Major, his artillery ability cost only 120. That, and also the Major is a universal unit for the U.S. forces, meaning you get him independent of your doctrine or commander, whereas the Pathfinders are specific to the doctrine that Adila has chosen. Anyway, we've got some... I feel like these Jacksons are kind of in an awkward position. One Jackson gets out of there. Oh, it doesn't get out of there. Where's the anti-tank rocket launcher? Anti-tank rocket launcher right there. Now has Vet 3. First strike. Oh, so this anti-tank rocket launcher can actually camouflage. Camouflage, I think it says while in cover, which, if you think about it, in some ways that's actually a very realistic ability, that you can actually have an anti-tank gun camouflaged in cover. Anyway, ooh, Panther now looks like it's in a lot of trouble. It has some kind of overdrive ability, a combat blitz. Wait, is that combat blitz? Well, I don't know if that was actually the speed ability, but it seems to be going a lot faster. Panther gets out of there with its life. It's going really fast, backing up really, really fast, but the main gun is destroyed. It's backing up almost comically fast.
M8A1 is on the field.
And it's really just backing away. Anyway, we've got an M8. That's the howitzer. And VPs are pretty low for the U.S. forces, but they are evening it out. It's a 1-to-1 cap, 40 minutes into this very, very long game. These Obersoldaten look like they've got flashlights, and they go down. So Obersoldaten white. With some, we've got the captain coming in the back. A captain now actually fully vetted up. Now it's interesting because a lot of these squads, right now it appears all of the U.S. Forces squads can only have three stars of veterancy. I believe I think in the original Company of Heroes, as well as in Company of Heroes, the Company of Heroes 2 before this, I think it was just 3 stars of veterancy. It appears that the Ober Kommando West can actually have 5. Yep, 5. So they can actually vet up more. Anyway, right here we've got something going on with this particular place. It is... I'm trying to figure out why it's all orange at the moment. So again, we didn't really see didn't really see the ebb and flow that we would see in Dawn of War 2. What is this thing doing right here? It's going for more base destruction, and it's about to get shot by a Panther. Got a rear armor hit. It has what? It has coordinated fire. This unit takes more damage. Wow, that's interesting. It must be a global ability from one of the Ober Kommando West players. I'm going to start checking for it. All right. Well, not sure. But either way, that Jackson did not get out of there alive. And I mean, Gote is going down here. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what he's doing. He's losing Jacksons. He's lost more than 1 Jackson, and maybe also a Sherman, trying to go for some of that base destruction. I feel like he might want to like keep his Jacksons alive, or if he's gonna lose them, trying to dislodge some of this stuff. But whoa. It might be, well, I guess he's probably going down here because this place is relatively undefended. As opposed to over here, which is very well defended. We've got a Panther for Powerpeter. We've got this thing. This is the Pack 43, the Mega Pack, which is a static anti-tank gun, going to be very, very powerful. Alright, I feel like, let's see. The Jackson probably going to take a shot. My God! All right, so one of the howitzer carriages goes down. Meanwhile, this Jackson, I think it has its rear armor facing, which is not good. Yeah, it had its rear armor facing, although. Ooh, and so interesting thing is now the vehicles actually have a crew, and the vehicles can actually get out and repair. It says they have limited combat capability. So, and that's actually, see, when we look here, we see the tank icon, and we also see the crew icon. Anyway, Pathfinders running ahead. They are decapping this standard territory point. Standard territory points provide both of the resources. Here we go with some artillery right on top of this forward building. Now, of course, well, one of the risks of having these forward buildings is that they're a little bit easier to destroy. Although you see the paratroopers trying to shoot the battle group headquarters with their Tommy guns and not really doing much with it. They're going to need a little bit more than that. Anyway, and here's some kind of artillery shot. Pathfinder's down to 1 man. They're probably going to get out of there. And is that more of the infantry support gun? Yeah, so the infantry support gun actually seems to be pretty good. I didn't have that much luck with it in the time that I used it, but it definitely is very slow firing, and the accuracy is probably not that good. So it's probably like something where it's not going to hit often, but when it does hit, it's going to hurt. And you know, I say probably Dawn of War 2. Most of our artillery things in Dawn of War 2 actually hit very consistently, as opposed to any kind of most of the artillery abilities in this game actually have a lot of spread, and a lot of times they'll actually miss. So that's actually another place where there's actually a little bit more RNG and randomness in this game than in Dawn of War 2. Anyway, big grenade goes in on this support gun. This support gun is done. Paratroopers moving up forward. They do have Tommy guns. And they appear to come default with Tommy guns. But they cannot take on the Panther. And we've got, how many Panthers do we have? Is this 3 Panthers? We've got 3 Panthers, but we've got... Alright, I feel like this Panther is done. Artillery goes in. One of the Jacksons goes down. So does one of the Panthers. And artillery is going to go in. And the U.S. forces actually said they lost a medium tank, so that actually sounds... I don't know if they're actually referring to the Jacksons as medium tanks, because I would think they would only refer to the Shermans as the medium tank. Man, the Jackson really does take some monster shots, but it's also in a lot of trouble because the Panther is fast, and the Jackson goes down. The Panther is fast. There's even a bulletin, basically something that players can equip to make the Panther go faster. And these Panthers can also get Vet 4. It also says Command Tank, so this might not be exactly the same Panther as that the Austere has. The Panther that the Austere has is probably just a Panther. Whoa. Okay, so check this. Now we've got the M4. This is the Sherman. This Sherman looks slightly different. The gun looks different, or maybe it's just because it's turned, it's got the gun facing backwards. But we do have some, we actually have some total base, well, maybe not total base destruction, because it says it's damaged and it can be rebuilt. But Bobdaboss's base was actually destroyed. He actually lost his base. Gote actually was really going for base destruction, and again, base destruction a bit more viable in this game. Well, maybe more than a bit, because base destruction pretty much doesn't happen in Dawn of War 2. Whereas base destruction actually can happen in Company of Heroes. It's actually, if anything, rare in this game, and almost doesn't exist in Dawn of War. Anyway, Sherman destroying bases. Now it's going to start taking some of that coordinated fire. That might just be like a trait of the Panther, and the Panther absolutely stepping all over that thing. Let's see, the Panther Combat Blitz. Yeah, so the Panther has an ability called Combat Blitz that actually allows it to move very, very fast. And we've seen it move like almost comically fast. The Panther, maybe also like take a look at some of his things. Oh, wow, a lot of artillery going on right there. I was trying to read and things are going on. Now, artillery can definitely be very, very powerful in this game, and like obviously, as I said, there are no jump units in this, so artillery is needed a little bit more to like break enemy lines. We've got these. Well, I was going to say these goats. This captain right here with bazookas, firing on the Panther, and oh damn, the captain goes down, leaving 2 bazookas open to be stolen by the Ober Kommando West. They could put a bazooka on like one of their Obersoldaten. Anyway, Panther now being pretty brazen. This is only a level. Well, now it's a Vet 2 Panther. I was about to say a level 1. There's only one Jackson right here, but I mean that Jackson thing is scary. Anyway, here is the fighting position. Can be upgraded with a heavy machine gun, and it has been upgraded with a heavy machine gun. It also appears that we've got it looks like, yeah, not it looks like I'm pretty sure that a squad of yeah, that's a squad of rear echelon troops that are garrisoned inside the fighting position, in addition to the 50 cal gunner inside. The 50 cal gunner looks kind of awkward. Anyway. Oh my god, listen to the sound of all that machine gun fire, and that's probably the sound, ooh, I think one squad almost got wiped there. That's probably the sound of the 30 cal. Anyway, I imagine these Panthers are actually pretty beastly, considering they can get up to Vet 5. They've got that combat blitz ability, which is definitely something very, very powerful. I mean, that's a get-out-of-jail-free card, or maybe not free, since you need to pay. But it's definitely, you definitely get out of trouble. You definitely get situations where you would otherwise lose the tank, and you can save the tank with that ability. Anyway, artillery going in. Like, that went so quick. Well, alright, it definitely wiped at least one squad. I was wondering if it even wiped like 2. But I mean, like, suddenly... Ooh, and you know what? Some rockets going in all over. Wow. So wait, what does Adila have? He's got vehicle crews. Most of his squads are vehicle crews. That's kind of sad. So he's mostly got vehicles. And he's got one squad of rear echelon troops. So he really does not have much. He does have enough manpower that he could get like a new squad of riflemen. I'm not even sure that he would want that. Or maybe he would get wait, no, he doesn't have paratroopers. Does he? No, I think it's Gote who has paratroopers. But, yeah, considering the red team, they were in a dominating position for most of the time. Probably, I didn't even see, like, a lot of the stuff that happened right here. Here we have a squad of Stern Pioneers trying to repair the base. The destroyed base. And even, Powerpeter, his base has some damage, and he only has one base turret left. Now, I don't think you don't win by base destruction. I guess that's the thing. But I mean, you obviously shut your opponent out of a lot of tech. And of course, one thing that I didn't point out about this, if you don't already know, there is actually, at least for the Ober Kommando West, there's a building for each tier of tech. I was about to say the Space Marines, but the U.S. forces, they actually come with all their buildings here, but you need to buy that squad, that unique hero unit in order to get access to tech. So that's kind of the resource commitment. Instead of getting the building, you need to get the hero unit, because the buildings are actually already built. Anyway, we've got Gote's paratroopers right here, just trolling around. Are they gonna destroy this half track with like not even anti-vehicle fire? Because they're definitely killing all the units right here. So we've got a supply. It goes down. Gote is like trolling, and you know at this point, like it actually. Ooh, Pathfinders. Now Gote's Pathfinders now have a 4th man, and I think they've got a 4th man, and it looks like they've got like sniper rifles. Yep, they've got 2 sniper rifles. We've got 2 snipers on the squad of Pathfinders. This is Gote. Now, Adila has I and R Pathfinders, and I feel like those might be different. Does he have his squad of Pathfinders? Alright, his squad of Pathfinders are running down there. Well, you know, like, as much as Red Team had that early lead for a while, oh dear, here comes some rockets. Right on top of all those units. As much as, like, the red team, like, just had control of the map for so long, but at some point they just lost stuff, and it really doesn't even look like they can come back. And that's actually one of the things that's definitely different about this game. You can be winning this game long enough to... If this game had Dawn of War 2's victory point timer, the Ober Kommando West would have already won if this game had Dawn of War 2's victory point timer. But it doesn't. Anyway, all these buildings right here destroyed one of the 2 buildings for the Ober Kommando West, but I think the Panther's now going to... Yeah, dual Panther's definitely going to take out the motor carriages. And if not, also... Yeah, took out the Jackson. Lots of Jacksons down in this game. Oh, man. So, well, Adila and Gote just lost a lot of units. So there's definitely a lot more endurance in this game. The games last longer, you lose more things, and at some point you do need to, well, you're gonna have to try to buy back more stuff if you want to keep fighting, because VPs are not done. If Adila and Gote lose too much of their stuff and they actually lose the VPs, then Peter and Bobdaboss can actually take it back. I find it funny that like Bob and Peter, we've got Bob and Peter on one side, just regular names, Bob and Peter. Of course, they're not just Bob and Peter. We've got Bobdaboss, he's the boss, and Powerpeter. Anyway, so it looks like Adila's got the I and R Pathfinders. Let me take a look at Gote's, because Gote, they're just Pathfinders. So wow, they're different, actually called a different squad, and but similar in some ways. They've got the same icon. Now the I and R Pathfinders look like they're better for actual combat, since they do have those like sniper. They've got sniper rifles. It appears they also have bazookas, and they've got 4 men instead of 3. But obviously the I and R Pathfinders have that artillery ability, and we've seen that their artillery is actually very powerful. Anyway, there is that zeroing artillery. This time it looks like Gote has learned his lesson from that first time, and wow. I mean, Gote and Adila are actually really dominating at this point. We've got a half-track coming in for Bobdaboss, and he actually can't control when the half-track comes in. It just comes in on a timer until you have all of them, and once you lose one of them, it starts counting down again for when you get a new one. Anyway, Panther is right here. Here is a Sherman. My impression is that the Panther would win out over the Sherman, especially this Panther is vetted, so it's definitely going to win over the Sherman. But we've still got 2 Panthers rolling around. I feel like one thing, like, I think right now it's mainly about the Panthers for Peter and Bobdaboss. If I, like, check over there, and I check over... Now, I noted before how the other tanks for the U.S. forces, they actually have vehicle crews. We don't have that option for Bobdaboss for the Panther. He can't take his crew out and have them repair it. Anyway, for all the VP leads that Bob and Peter had at the start, like, I'm gonna say this game is, well, in a way it's too early to tell, but it does look like that the game is gonna go in favor of Adila and Gote. Both tanks kill each other.
We just lost a medium tank.
And it turns out that the U.S. forces actually will say we lost a medium tank for losing one of the Jacksons. And Gote is trolling. He does lose one of his paratroopers, but I mean he took out the command headquarters. Actually, it actually appears to be slightly alive, but it's in pretty bad shape. It's on fire. And now it actually doesn't look like there are actually not that many blips on the map. It's like everyone lost all their units. I mean,
tank destroyer is ready for orders.
Like one thing I'm assuming Peter and Bob don't have much infantry, because it doesn't even really seem like they've even tried to like just put an infantry squad like on this point. Although, for the most part, they pretty much can't with this fighting position right here. This fighting position right here pretty much denies any infantry from capturing this point. Because even if they somehow get around the back, which looks like it would be pretty impossible, they're going to be walking straight into the firing arc of the machine gun on this fighting position. I actually think it's very interesting that he's pretty much keeping the rear echelon troops in there. I'm guessing maybe so that just in case the fighting position starts taking damage, he can repair it, although it looks like it actually has taken some damage and he's not repairing it. But yeah, so you definitely need more endurance to win out in this game than in Dawn of War 2. Got units retreating right here. Obersoldaten coming in, opening fire, and as powerful as the Obersoldaten are, I don't think they can take on all this stuff. And you know what? I think those Panthers are gone. Oh wait, we've still got a Panther for Bobdaboss. So we've still got a Panther, but I think it's just one Panther. We've got one Panther for Bobdaboss. Peter, wow, they've really got like nothing and their base is actually being like overrun. So, you know what? They're probably pretty screwed at this point. Bobdaboss actually floating a ton of resources though, so it really would work for him to actually just get more stuff. He could get out an entirely new Panther as well as he could get an entirely new Panther and some kind of infantry squad on top of it. We even have a late Greyhound from Adila. I don't know what's up with that. Like, it's almost like just because he can. You know, at this point, I'd say they probably, at the risk of calling things early, although probably not. I'd say Gote and Adila have pretty much won this game, and now we're just kind of watching. We're just watching them fight it out. Although a Jackson goes down, so small victory for this Vet 3 Panther. And the Panther definitely going to overtake this Greyhound from Adila. So, but that canister shot from the Greyhound is pretty funny.
Light vehicle just got destroyed.
Well, new Panther for Powerpeter.
Goose steppers down to 100 points.
Dead Jackson. And the Pathfinders. Are they going to take out this Panther? Alright, the Panther has, like, at least 2 machine guns, if not 3. But it definitely has at least 1 home machine gun as well as that top gunner. It's got 3 home machine guns. 1 on the turret, it's got 1 home machine gun, 1 turret machine gun, and then that top gunner. Here is a lot of rockets. Or a lot of bombs. Stern Pioneers still fighting, and I mean, it's tough. Like, at this point, I think, like, I actually think what Bob and Peter would need to do, they would need to take their Panthers and then kind of play over here, make a play over here. Because they're getting caught up trying to defend their base and trying to reestablish their base, and they're pretty much just getting shut down, and it's not working. So I feel like maybe they should take their Panthers, drive up around here. If they can do something about this 157mm gun, they could get around here, flank the fighting position, and then maybe stand a chance to retake. To retake the contested VP. And I feel like that's the best chance they've got. But as it is, we've got some Pathfinders, some INR Pathfinders running around uncontested. Although now the Panthers would like to have a few words with these Pathfinders. But they're still just decapping the point, and now it's actually going to be a double cap for Adila and a 2-0 cap for Adila and Gote. Although I don't think the Pathfinders are going to survive long enough to finish the cap, so I think they should just get out of there. We've got some artillery going on top of this Pack 43. Pack 43, unfortunately, really did not do much. I mean, it's obviously going to deter things, but I feel like it could have done more, even considering like its range. So it didn't actually do anything, but it was mostly a deterrent. So these Panthers, they're still trying to defend their base, and you know, I almost feel like they should abandon their base. I feel like they should abandon their base, and they're only going to have so much coming out of here, but they can build Obersoldaten, they can build tanks. So I feel like they should maybe go around, or, you know, even charging forward. With 2 Panthers, they can charge a single Jackson. They can charge that Jackson, and maybe take out the fighting position, but it doesn't seem like they're even going to try to do that. And as it is, we've got another, about to be a triple cap going on against them. So it's probably just going to be the game in favor of Adila and Gote soon enough, or maybe not soon enough, because the VP counter really is pretty slow in this game. Although, I mean, if the VP counter were any faster, Bob and Peter would have won this game a long time ago. Actually, they're now doing it. They took out the fighting position, I think, a little too late, though. Because now they don't have the victory point over here. Yeah. So I think now we're finally going to have the VPs tick down against them. And we've got, like, some fireworks at the end. A flaming panther. And that was the end of the game. A long-ass game. This is what happens in Company of Heroes. Pretty crazy. Yeah, it was actually pretty crazy, though. It was entertaining to watch. So, I know this isn't the usual fare, and it does seem like the Dawn of War 2 crowd does not really care that much for Company of Heroes 2, but it has been entertaining, and I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good night.